Hey everyone, it's Taluka. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about writing, specifically allowing students to take control during the writing process, from all the way from brainstorming to drafting to publishing. And I know this can sound a little bit chaotic, daunting, maybe a little scary, but I promise you that empowering students to take control of their writing process can help them become more engaged and more invested overall in their writing. And believe it or not, giving up just a little bit of control can have some really great results. Hey there, literacy lovers. I'm Taluka, your go-to guide for building a love of literacy in your classroom, one word at a time. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. So, we all know writing can be tough for some students, but providing them with some control over their writing can go a really long way. So when kids feel in control of their writing, they become more engaged and overall just more invested. I have a few tips to share with you that will allow you to let go of some of that control, but still provide a really structured writing environment for your students. So first off, providing choice during the brainstorming process. That's going to be key. So giving your students a few writing prompts or even just topics to choose from can help spark their interest and get them more invested, more buy-in. It's also great to let them make decisions and write about the things they either care about, they know a lot about, or things that they're just really interested in or enjoy. But sometimes we have an objective and we don't really want students coming up with their own topic because, well, we need to give them something that's a little more structured, or maybe it's something that's connected to something that we're reading. Now, when it is a writing task that specifically teaches how to incorporate a source, so text, I like to use familiar picture books, and this is easily adaptable across grade levels. So I will use a familiar picture book that my students know and love, and I'll use it as a mentor text, and then I'll give my students a writing prompt that directly relates to that mentor text. I'll link a free resource down in the description for you so you can see what that looks like. Now, my second tip is to provide feedback before students even start drafting. Instead of telling them what to change after the fact, go over a clear and easy to read rubric with your students before you even get into the writing process. So you help your students understand what's expected of them. And then let them reference that rubric, those requirements, as they're writing. So give them a copy of it so it's fresh in their mind and they can keep referencing it. When my district switched to standards-based grading years ago, one of the first things I did was I created a writing rubric for my third graders that was in third grade friendly language, and I did it for each type of writing, narrative, informational, and opinion or argumentative. And I made 3 columns in this rubric. One was approaching, the middle one was on level, and the last one was above. So starting in the approaching column all the way on the left, that's where I wrote the second grade standards. Now remember, I was teaching third, so the second grade standards were the standards that they should have already practiced the year prior. So I focused specifically on content. I didn't worry about the spelling standards or language, grammar, just writing content. And I wrote out those second grade writing standards in that column. And I made them not bullet pointed, but like with little check boxes and in super kid friendly language, right? Then I moved to the middle column and I wrote the third grade standards. So this was my on-level column, and I bolded the difference. So the standards build each year, right? So for example, if one of the standards was to include a detail, right? Details in the writing. In second grade, in third grade, I wrote out that same standard that was related to adding details, but I bolded the difference because usually it just builds right on that exact same standard with a little bit more of a requirement there. So having it in bold made it so that the kids could see how their writing was supposed to get even better. Then in the above column, I bolded the difference there. So same standards, I pulled them from fourth grade. So they could really just see like where they were expected to go. And honestly, this really encouraged a lot of my third graders to try and check off the boxes even in the fourth grade column. So win-win. So then I went over this with my students and I literally told them, this is what I'm using to grade your writing. And then they got to keep a copy of it, and I actually had them staple it at the end to their final copy, and that's literally what I used to grade it. So it was really great. And I gave them the same publishing paper that had this little self-checking checklist that they could use to grade their own writing before handing it in to me. So I made editable versions of these rubrics and these publishing pages for grades 1 through 5. So I'll link those in the description if you would like to try them out. So now that students have drafted, the third tip I would like to suggest is to encourage peer editing. Teachers have enough on their plates, right? Offload this task to your kids. Let students give and receive feedback from the other kids in the class. It takes a little bit off of your plate, and more importantly, it helps the kids get better at their own writing. So one of my favorite ways to do this is through a collaborative activity that I like to call musical papers. Musical papers can be done with really any writing piece, and it's great for teaching students how to polish up their editing skills, and not to mention it's super fun. They absolutely love it. While they're playing, students are actually editing their classmates' writing in an organized, focused, and super structured way. So here's how it looks. Each student starts with putting their paper on their desk, and then they pull out one colored pencil, and that is their designated editing pencil. Now, it's important that it's colored, and I'll get to that in a minute. Once the kids are ready, they stand up, they tuck in their chairs, they leave their writing right in front of them, and then they wait for music to start playing. And then that's when you start playing music. When it starts, the kids have to travel around the room until the music stops. I let my kids like dance as they travel the room. And as soon as the music stops, they have to sit down at the desk that's closest to them. And the first thing they do is they take their colored pencil and they write their name in the margins of their friend's paper. They're using their own colored pencil, right? So this way, any edits that are made on that draft in that color is directly linked to that student's name. So it acts as an accountability piece, really. So now this is where the editing begins. Instead of having the students edit like anything and everything, because we've all done that, right? Where we're like, please edit your work, and they're like, okay, I'm done, and they leave. They don't really edit, you know what I mean? So instead of having them just edit and everything and anything, I tell students exactly what they're editing for in that round. For instance, during the first round, I'll say, make sure that there is a title and that it is capitalized. If it's there and it's capitalized, leave it alone. If they don't have a title or if it's not capitalized, please write the word title so that your friend knows that they need to make a correction right there. And that's it. When they're done checking the title, they stand up behind the chair and they wait for the music again. The next round, I might have them look for capital letters at the beginning of each sentence. So then all our friends are doing is just looking for capital letters, right? It's not taking a million years because they're not reading an entire thing right now. They're just looking for capital letters at the start of each sentence. The round after, they might look for punctuation at the end of the sentence. This continues until all the items on our checklist are accounted for. And the kids absolutely love this activity because it incorporates movement and dancing and fun, and they get to have a little bit more control over their own writing and even their friends' writing. So I have an awesome slide deck that you can use to play musical papers, and it is editable, so you can change out the editing skills that your students are focusing on. So I'll link that down in the description below for you. And finally, my last but very important tip: end that long writing process with a bang. Throw a share party at the end where kids can walk around the room and read their published writing to their friends. Let them be proud of their work and show it off, right? So sometimes we have students that just love to come up to the front of the classroom, and you can even use one of those fun little microphones that you can find on Amazon. But sometimes that stresses students out, so I like to just have students find buddies in the classroom, walk around, read their writing, listen to their friends' writing being read to them, and then go find another partner and just show it off and let them be proud and celebrate that they've made it through this long process that hopefully they had a lot of autonomy with. So to recap, providing choice, prepping students with clear expectations or rubric, incorporating peer editing, and celebrating at the end are awesome ways to help motivate your writers and boost their confidence. If you found these strategies helpful, please like this video and drop me a comment. Thanks for watching and happy writing!